Recently we began to enter the domain of another chapter in Suzuki Roshi's book on becoming ourselves, and the whole section is called Zen in Everyday Life. And what a perfect section as we do Fuhatsu and look at the precepts and our relationship to it. And the first chapter was named after Daisho's puppy, Harmony. And the chapter begins with a very powerful statement. I want to read it to you again. And he's talking about the point of this harmony. The point is to find our position moment after moment, and to live with people moment after moment according to the place and circumstances. And in this very powerful and important section, this whole chapter, we're going to find that Suzuki Roshi is reminding us of the obvious, but we need to be reminded of it continually, that the Samadhi of Zazen, the meditative state of Zazen, is to be the meditative state, the Samadhi of everyday life, moment by moment. With the intention to enter a place with inner and outer harmony is the very crux of the matter. And it asks us over and over, how are we relating to this particular situation, the people closest to us, the work circumstances, the dynamics, the politics, the different personalities, our practice, how we show up there, how we connect to the various inner parts and inner emotions that we deal with. How do we find harmony with the world? I like to think of the precepts in some ways, and particularly, again, as we celebrate Fusatsu, that there's something of a Geiger counter for us. They tell us where the hot spots are that we really need to be paying attention to. So this is at the center of our practice, the center of our study. So to enter it a little bit more deeply, I want to talk about a personal encounter I had with my inner teacher recently. And the inner teacher showed up in a dream. And it was a lovely encounter. And in the dream, I am at my bookcase, and on the top shelf is this ancient book. And it has almost like a burlap cover. It's been around for centuries. And I pulled the book off the shelf, and on the spine is the name of the book. And the name of the book was Yes. It was the book of Yes. Now, this has a history in my life, this yes. And it goes back to a rather challenging time when my mother, who had been living with us at that point, maybe 10 years, and she was well into her 90s. She was past 95 at that point. And Don and I had been taking care of her, and at this point, she started to have almost routine crisis of health where we would have to call an ambulance, or these very long nights in the emergency room. She would have a couple hospitalizations that then resulted in her needing to go to rehab. And then when she came back to rehab, all of the attention that was needed to support her as she literally got back on her feet. And this was a particularly challenging time for me because I was commuting to the city with 2 hours commute each way. And I was the executive director of a not-for-profit that really demanded more than a typical 40-hour week. So I'm finding myself really on the verge of drowning. And there was a moment where I could actually pinpoint the place in my house where it was happening. I was going up a flight of stairs where I encountered the big yes. And in that moment, I had this experience that I'm not doing anything here that I don't want to do. A lot of it I prefer, obviously, not to do, but there's nothing here that I don't want to do. Yes. It was a yes to the whole catastrophe, as it was. It was demanding. But that ability to be invited into this yes transformed everything. It was as if a weight was lifted off of me. And I found that the place I was in, I was creating a lot of my own suffering in it, just getting all wrapped up in what's going to happen next, where am I going to get the help, who's going to do it? And it was just yes to this moment, to this set of circumstances. So I have to ask, well, why does the dream come now? Why do I get this book of yes? And I think as I spend time with it, I'm not in a particularly demanding situation that's anywhere comparable to what it was back then. But I think the dream was to remind me that this yes was not only for big crisis moments. It's a yes for every moment. And I'd like to call it the Samadhi of yes, because that's what it was for me. It was a Samadhi. I moved into a place. I was invited into that place. So I think it's a gift for me, this dream, and perhaps it's a gift for you too. To say, what are the situations in our life right now that would really benefit from the Samadhi of yes? Particularly in those situations where, and I'm not the only one, where you find yourself saying, did I sign up for this? Or those situations where there are people or circumstances that are just, oh, come on. Or places where you feel powerless. We're dealing with things that there are no easy answers, if there are answers at all. Challenging, we're feeling alone or lost, overwhelmed. Places where we're losing our footing. We're experiencing, like the glaciers of greed, anger, and delusion or numbness. So these are the situations that I think are practice. And just framing it in the Samadhi or yes might be just another way to enter it. How do I say yes to this moment? A moment where in that big heart, big mind of the yes, we could say yes to the suchness of the moment. where we can see and feel our own capacities, our own emotions, our own limitations, the possibility of the situation. And a yes that springs not from the part of ourself that is going to grasp at and make something happen, but a yes that bubbles up from our deepest self. And it's a yes that opens us to really bring alive what Suzuki Roshi is inviting us to. How do we have the appropriate response to this moment? And you find it in that yes. But there's something even more here. I believe if you open up to this space, in this moment we're saying yes not only to this particular situation, but this is a yes, a primal yes, where we're saying yes to our life, all of life. We're saying yes to it all. This is my life, yes, yes, yes. And it is a yes of the Buddha nature that we will carry. A yes of the absolute of life itself. And it becomes Buddha nature in life itself that is saying yes to us. Yes. Yes. A yes that's the shared heartbeat of the universe itself.